Hello, true believer. So today we're going to try and finish off this iPhone side profile. So we're going to be looking at how to build the sound button with the little trench that clicks up and down and the two volume buttons. So let's begin. So we go back to our model that we've got over here, and if we spin it around to where we want, so we want this left hand side, we're going to build the trench first for the sound on and off. So we go to our rectangle tool, click on the plane that we're interested in, which is this left side, and we just zoom in. So notice that the work plane is offsetted again. So the origin for everything was usually done from here, but because we've done those fillet tools, actually thinks the origin starts down here on that plane, which is fair enough. So we've got to make sure we take that in consideration with our calculations when we're doing the measure up. Okay, so when I measured from the very bottom of this, it was 140 millimeters up, but instead we're going to have to take away 5 because of that difference again. So for the x-axis, we're going to go 140, but then take away 5, so 135. And instead of 3 millimeters down from the top, we're only going to go down 1 because of that 2 millimeter jump. So if we zoom back out and press tab, what have I done? Why are you not there? Oh, because I've done it the other way around. So 135 there and minus 1 there. Cool. Because we're dealing with the x and the y axes that way around, depending on how we're looking at this work plane. So that's where we're going to start, and then we're going to build our little rectangle. So you could free draw it, but again, we've measured this properly. So we know that the trench is going to have a 2 millimeter height, and then we're going to go 5 millimeters across. Okay, so that gives us a little trench for the button. So that's where the button's going to sit. Again, if you look to the corners, it's going to be filtered again. So we're going to go fillet, and we're going to keep this 0.3 because it seems to just match perfectly what was going to happen. And we fill it all the way around the edge there. So that's our fillet all done. So now our sketch is finished. We can zoom in and we should have our little fillet occurred. We then want to cut in. So we're going to go to 3D model. We're going to go extrude, and we're going to go solid. But instead of joining, we're going to cut, and we're going to go in 1. So that's going to go back, and we should have our cut. So that's where our little button's going to lay. We're now going to then create the button. So we go back to sketch, start 2D sketch on that plane. We zoom back out, and we create a rectangle again. And it's exactly the same dimensions. So we want to go across 135. And we want it to start, how far down was it? -1. And if we zoom back up, I've done this wrong again, sorry. Sorry. So we go down -1, then across 135. So we've got the yellow point there in exactly the same position. So this is going to be the button instead. So we click, and we want the same dimensions, except it's going to be half the width. So that's going to be 1, and that's going to be 5. Okay, then we click. So that's the little button that's going to be sitting there. Now, again, we got to go through and fillet the edges. So we click there, click fillet, fillet, and fillet. So that creates our button. Now, this is where it's a little bit different because we haven't used this one before, but when we do the 3D model and we extrude it, we've only done the join, the cut, and we're going to do the join again, but we've only done the push out and the push in. We're actually going to use the symmetrical one. So it's going to push out and push in at the same rate. So at the very center, it's going to push out from there. So if we wanted to go 1 on either side, we actually wanted to push out 2 millimeters. And now we've got a button that not just comes out, but also goes back into the trench to fill it in. So then if we press OK, and we zoom out a little just so that you can see it now, there's our button. How cool is that? Awesome. So then the next bit, just to finish this off, this profile, we need to do the 2 volume buttons. So again, we go rectangle, click on that plane, zoom out, and this one from the measurements that I've done for the volume up is going to be 127 from the very bottom. So we've got to take away 5 again. So that's 122. Tab, and then we want it to be -3 down from the top, which would be -1. So then we click, and these ones were 10 millimeters wide, I think. Yep. So 10. Sorry, that one's going to be 2, and then that one's going to be 10. Okay, so then that makes our button. Same deal as before. All the iPhone, Apple stuff seems to have these nice fillets, so we're going to keep with the tradition. Fill it away. That's done. And then the last step is we've got to extrude that. And again, this is going to be an out, but instead of 2, we're just going to do 1, and only in one direction, not symmetrical like what we did before. Okay, so once we've done that, we then now have to do the down button for volume. So we go rectangle again, click on the plane. This one, if we look roughly where it's going to be roughly about here. So it's going to be down 1, like what we did before, and instead of 127, which is what we did before, we've got to come down from the measurements 115 in, so it's just going to be 110. Okay, so that's where the start of our button is going to start. So we click, this is going to be 2 millimeters wide again, and then the 10 again. Then we click, go to the fillet, fillet those, fillet those, fillet those, fillet those. So we're all filleted out. So we go finish sketch, go back to our 3D model, extrude, solid, it's going to be joining on, it's going to come out, and it's going to go 1. So if we made that 2, see how it comes out further. We just want to make it 1, and then we press OK. So now, if we look at our iPhone from the front, we have our sound button at the top and the 2 volume buttons. So we're starting to look a little bit more like a proper iPhone. Awesome.